keeping the generator.
So why is it running right now?
Because we're trying to warm it up.
So we're warming up the generator and we're warming up the truck. It'll make that oil flow a lot better and help clean out all the cracks and crevices. So let it run for about 10 minutes. I've already turned it from on to fuel off, so it'll drive by itself so there's no fuel in the carburetor. And then we'll turn this off and then we'll show you how to maintain this generator. And then we're going to change the oil in the truck as well. We're up for, I think, 5,500 miles. So we'll show you how to do that, what I use, and all the tools and my little helper.
We had a 3,000 square foot house and all of the things, yet we always found ourselves looking for more. We love being outside, we love adventuring, and every time we went someplace we never wanted to come home. We are just your average family living not your everyday life. Andrew, Janelle, Corbin, and Wyatt. We are the Hoopers. This is our journey of building our home.
So I need you to go get a paper towel. Do the truck first. So what I typically do is I'll just look at all the fluids. This is just normal maintenance. Check, make sure my coolant's good, got good brake fluid, transmission, and then I'll check the oil as well. All right, so with these new trucks, they pack as much in here as they can, which is good. Gives you plenty of power, but it makes working on them a nightmare. Changing the oil is not bad, so we'll go for that as soon as I get my paper towels. So the first thing we want to do, and do this periodically as well whenever you're filling up your truck, but we want to check the oil before we change it. The reason we do that is to make sure that the truck isn't using oil. So in this particular case, we'll clean off the dipstick. We'll push it in there. Bring it out here in the sun. So we're a little bit above halfway on the mark. So if you look, you got this line right here and then this line. You want the oil in between those two lines. So we're good on oil. Now we're going to change it. That means we don't have any issues as far as head gaskets or anything. We're not using oil. All right. So next thing we do, we'll set up the oil pan underneath, and then we got to get the socket and the ratchet. Alrighty, so we get that and that. The funnel we'll use later. We don't need that right now. One thing we're using now is this. Don't get it on you. As well as the ratchet. So we're going to come over here. This is the fun part. There you go. So depending on how people want to do it, everyone kind of does it a little bit different. Let me see that. So I always put one glove on, typically on my left hand. So when I grab the drain plug on the oil pan, I don't get oil all over myself. Not a big deal, but I'll try to get up. There it is. So on these trucks, the 4-wheel drives, you don't have to put them on jacks or anything. You want to try to make sure you're on a level surface. And you can kind of see on this drain pan where it's, where the drain plug is. What we look for is that the drain plug is on the right side of the pan and on the rear of the pan. So you want your truck level. And maybe a little bit tilted to the right and the front end up just a little bit. It'll allow it to come out quicker. So we have our drain pan here, our drain plug here, and then right here is our oil filter. So depending on where you're at and what you're doing and how long you want to take, you can take them both off at the same time. I typically do one at a time, wait till this drains, and then go from there. So we'll get the tools. This particular one uses a 5/8 inch socket.
I'm trying.
Well, it's hard, bud. So we'll break it loose, okay? And then we're gonna put this, angle it right here. We want to make sure that when it's stopped running, the plug is directly under here so we don't put any on the ground. And then when we first pull this out, it's gonna spray over this way. So we're gonna make sure everything's out of the way, and obviously make sure you're not wearing good clothes, that in case there is a little bit of splatter, it doesn't get on you, and we'll go from there. All right, so we can see here it's starting to drip. I want to make sure that drip is within the actual tank. So then now I'll go ahead and unscrew this by hand. And sometimes what I'll do, kind of depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing, how much room I have, all that good stuff, I'll tilt this up as I take this off. That way, depending on how much pressure it is, sometimes it'll want to go really far, and obviously I don't want to get oil on me. Now I'm going to maneuver my shoulder around a little bit. Corbin, can you just hold this up just like this? Just right there. Yeah, put your hand right there. Perfect. Don't move it, okay? Just up a little bit more, right here. Okay. Don't move it, even when it starts running, okay? Okay, now you can drop it down. Alright, so now we're draining the oil. And then as it'll go, obviously this stream will start to move back and back and back. I'll adjust this just to make sure we're getting in the center. And then we take a paper towel to the drain plug. We'll wrap it up, make sure there's keep dirt off of it, all that stuff. So we're gonna let this drain. It's gonna drain for a little while. Once it's drained, put the plug back in, and we'll do the oil filter next, and we'll go from there. Thing we do is we take off the oil filter. Now you can use an oil filter wrench or both hands, just really tight if you got good wrists. So you just start to loosen it. Alright, once you loosen it, we'll move this over a little bit, and once you loosen it, there we go. Alright, so you can do it a couple different ways. Typically, I'll get a nail and poke a hole in the bottom of this filter to let it drain. I don't have a nail with me right now, so what I'll do is I'll just unscrew this. Okay, I'll unscrew this right here, and it'll start to leak oil around this top seal. And once it does that, it'll just get the oil filter real oily. It's more of a mess. So see, there we go. So you just want to make sure, obviously, that your tank that you're draining it to is underneath the oil pan, so you're not getting oil all over the ground. So we'll do that. We'll do it a little bit more. See, it's just draining all the oil out there. The cleanest way, again, is to poke a hole in the bottom with a nail, and in the bottom of this filter. And then you'll be back, it's a lot cleaner, it'll drain it, and then when you take it off, none of this happens at the top. So diesel oil is a little bit different than gasoline oil. Obviously it's got some properties, but with diesel, the oil turns black quicker just because of the soot. It doesn't mean it's lost its, lubricating properties, but it does turn blacker a lot quicker than a gasoline engine. I typically change mine every 5,000 miles regardless, just because I'm putting a lot of strain on the engine and pulling the camper. New oils these days is advanced. You can go 7,500 miles, 10,000 miles. So 7,500 miles to 10,000 miles. Again, I change mine every 5,000 miles. I use 5W40 full synthetic. The 5W40 are the weights, the cold and hot weights of the oil. the 5W40 gives you the most range. In this particular brand, they do have OW40 as well. Alright, so now we got the oil filter off. We're just going to set the oil filter down in there. And then we wait for all this to drain. We'll probably give it another 5 minutes just to make sure everything's out. And then I'll show you what we do as far as cleaning it up before we put everything back together. Always want to try to do it on a non-windy day. Don't do it, you know, obviously under a under a sand pile or anything. You want to try to keep as much dirt and all that grime out of these open exposed holes right now while we're changing the oil. I use Motorcraft full synthetic 5W40 blend, and then I prefer Wix XP filters. The XP is designed specifically for synthetic. I've used Fram and this. For some reason I just keep getting drawn back to these. I've done quite a bit of research online of them dissecting different filters, and I don't know, I just keep getting drawn back to this one. This one and one other one, I can't remember the name. They're basically the exact same thing, just rebranded. But anyway, this is what I use. So now that we're almost through draining the oil out of the truck, it's finishing draining out of the oil pan and also where the oil filter was done. You always want to prime these filters with oil, so whenever you start your vehicle, it's not having to put oil into the filter and then out, and so it's, you know, starving your engine of oil just for that split second. So we'll go ahead and put some oil from here into here, top it off, and then I'll always get a clean finger, stick it in the oil, and you want to lubricate this seal with oil as well, like this. So we'll show you how to do that in a second as well. Alright, so I just topped it off, got some oil, topped it off, get a clean finger, dip it in the oil. You want to run it around this seal. Okay. And then we will get a paper towel as well. Where the old filter was taken off, we'll clean around there and put the new filter on. Clean around the drain plug, put that back on, and top her off. Alrighty. So, got the filter. This is where the old filter was. You can see there's obviously existing oil there. Try to get a paper towel, clean it as good as you can. Make sure that you got a good quality paper towel so it doesn't leave little pieces of paper towel everywhere. And then we'll take our new filter and screw it on. So now it's locked. It dripped a little bit. So go ahead and clean it off real quick. Stop. Go ahead and give me another drip. Alright, so we'll tighten this bad boy all the way up. Once it touches, the seal touches, I will tighten it just a little bit more. And then wipe off everything. So the reason to wipe it off is in case something happens later on and you have a leak somewhere. You want to make sure that it'll show you that there's a leak. So you're going to have everything as clean as possible around the top. Again, make sure it's tight. So that's as tight as I want it. Then clean the top and then get another clean rag here, and we'll clean around this. So I put one finger in and just rotate it around. So we're cleaning around without spreading the dirt inside. Okay. And then we'll get the drain plug, which I have placed right here. We'll undo it as well. I'll start it. I don't go all the way in. Again, I'll get a paper towel to get the excess drippage away. Make sure it's clean. Tighten it back up. Get my socket and ratchet. You better make sure you don't over tighten this. Just get it tight so you don't strip anything. So this is back on. We're able to hold oil now. This is back on the new filter. Now we'll go up to the top and top it off.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We had some technical difficulties and our video did not record when Andrew was putting the new oil in, and now he's out of town. So I got my little helpers here and they're going to show you where to put the new oil. All right, so we have our hood popped again. This is where everything is. And Corbin, can you show us where we put our new oil?
Yes. So here we put new oil in, and we can't unscrew it right now because we don't have any more trouble with it.
That's right, we're not gonna unscrew it, but this is where it goes. So this is what your oil cap looks like. So whenever you take the cap off, just make sure to set it someplace that it's not gonna fall down in here, because as you can see, this is super compact and you don't wanna get it lost. And then you wanna start your engine, let the oil settle, and come back in and do a final check with the dipstick.
Yeah.
Make sure everything looks good.
Yeah, the dipstick is a point.
Yeah.
All right. So we got everything done. I'm gonna start the truck. Make sure everything sounds good. There's no knocking sounds. That's another reason why you want to prime that oil filter before you put the new one on there, so it's not starved of oil, and it'll knock just for a second. In this particular case it doesn't, because I primed the filter. We'll go into the truck settings, advanced settings, vehicle, oil life reset. We'll hit OK. So we were at 52%. But we had about 5,500 miles, and they were all hard pulling miles. So I'd rather spend a little bit extra money on oil to protect the investment of this engine. So that we'll just hit OK, hold to reset it, to change 100, and now we're good again. I'll turn off the truck. We'll let the oil settle back down in the engine, and then we'll do one more check on the dipstick to make sure we got the right oil level, making the adjustments as needed if it needs to add a little bit extra oil. Other than that, we're done. So typically an oil change will take, from start to finish, without any interruptions, take about 15 minutes. So I prefer to do it right, or do it myself, make sure it's done right. And obviously I don't have to go into a Ford dealership or any other dealership and wait in line and have to schedule and be inconvenienced that way. So it's easy enough to do yourself. So we'll keep doing it. All right, so change oil in the generator. I'm going to use the same catch that I had for the truck. We will unscrew this. We've already warmed up the engine, made sure that the fuel is off here as well as up here. We'll take this out. So on these, maintenance is really easy. You have all your stuff here to change oil filters. Look at everything you need. Not oil filters, air filters. And then we'll center this up right on the edge. This is our dipstick. Not the dipstick over here. Dipstick on the generator. Get a little rag. So it's right where it needs to be at full level, the way these generators work. I'm going to set this right there just so it's out of the way. I know where it's at. And then these are pretty easy. All you have to do is tilt them forward. You want to get all the oil out, obviously. You don't want any old oil left. Now we've emptied the oil out. Clean up the tray. And these are pretty easy. All you gotta do is refill it. I think it takes 13 ounces. Let me go get the oil. We'll top it off and be good to go. These engines take 10W30 motor oil. They have obviously Honda branded ones. I just picked this up at O'Reilly. It was quick and easy. So now I'll fill this back up to the line that it needs to be, which is at the bottom of the thread line. We'll crank it up and make sure everything works well. One thing you can do is if you go to the gas stations, you can get the paper funnels if you don't have a plastic funnel. Most gas stations that carry oil have a stack of paper funnels. It's always good to have some of those in your glove compartment of your truck, just to have, whether you're using it for this or something else comes along that you may need that for as well. I got a little bit more than I need to, so I'm gonna let it drain out right there. All right, so we got it full. I will get the dipstick. Put it back. Get a paper towel, I keep it in my pocket. Go ahead and wipe off the oil tray. Make sure there's no excess oil here. And then, make sure it's tight one more time. We will turn this on. Turn this on. It's going to take a couple times because I let the generator run out of gas, so it may take 5 or 6 pulls. We'll go ahead and turn the choke on. We're back up and running again. So we got oil. You can refer to your particular generator's maintenance schedule and see how often you need to do it. But before we head to Alaska, I wanted to get rid of some weight that was in the back of my truck for extra oil and go ahead and set us up for success. So there went 5 minutes to change the oil in the generator. We're back up and running again and taking care of our product.
The dipstick is for the old oil.
The old oil to check the levels? Yeah, but whenever you put new oil in, you also want to make sure your new oil's at a good level, right?
Uh-huh. So, where it comes to the new oil, it goes down to the new oil.
Oh, thank you for telling us how that works. All right, boys, thank you.
And with